the land between the Mediterranean and the Jordan River, a crossroads of continents, a cradle of faith, and a stage for empires. For millennia, this ground has been walked by prophets, kings, conquerors, and pilgrims. The story of the Bible is not just a story of individuals, but of nations, their rise, their fall, and their enduring legacy. Who were these peoples? And what became of the lands they once called home? This is the story of the nations of the Bible, then and now. At the heart of the biblical narrative is Israel itself. In ancient times, this land was a confederation of tribes, bound by a shared covenant and a longing for a homeland. Under the reign of David and Solomon, these tribes united, forming the mighty kingdom of Israel. For a brief golden age, Jerusalem stood as the spiritual and political center of a people who believed they were chosen for a unique destiny. Animation, unified kingdom, but unity was fleeting. After Solomon's death, the kingdom fractured, splitting into the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah, Samaria, Jerusalem. These two nations, though kindred in faith and heritage, often found themselves at odds, sometimes with each other, often with the great empires that surrounded them. They were the people of the covenant, whose tumultuous history, marked by faith rebellion, exile, and return, forms the backbone of the Old Testament. Israel and Judah were small players on a big geopolitical stage, constantly caught between superpowers like Egypt and Assyria. Their significance wasn't in their military might, but in their revolutionary idea of one invisible God. The Western Wall, the vibrant cityscape of Tel Aviv, the Israeli Knesset, diverse faces high-tech innovation, sacred rituals. Today the name Israel is restored, a modern thriving nation-state established in 1948. It stands as a global leader in technology and innovation, a focal point for Jewish life and pilgrimage from every corner of the globe. The ancient land of Judah, Judea, remains central, woven into the nation's historical and political identity. From ancient covenant to modern state, the story of Israel and Judah continues, bridging past and present, faith and nationhood. Egypt. For millennia it has stood as the gateway between Africa and the Middle East, its destiny shaped by the timeless flow of the Nile. Visual pyramids of Giza. Visual. Hieroglyphics flickering across ancient walls. Visual. The river winding through lush fields. In the days of the Bible, Egypt was the ancient superpower, a land of immense wealth and terrifying power. It was the place of refuge for Abraham, it was the place of refuge for Joseph. It was also the house of bondage. From there Moses led the Exodus. Its pharaohs ruled with godlike authority. Its armies cast a long shadow over Israel. Its armies cast a long shadow over Judah, sometimes as a threat, sometimes as a precarious ally. Egypt, then, from the bustling streets of ancient Memphis, to the gold-laden tombs of the Valley of the Kings. Egypt's legacy is written in stone, in stories, in scripture. For centuries it shaped the fate of its neighbors. Its monuments outlasted empires that rose and fell. Today, Egypt is transformed. Visual sweeping modern Cairo skyline. Visual, inside the Egyptian Museum. Visual, vibrant city life and street markets. It is now the most populous Arab nation, a center of culture and learning in the Islamic world. Its ancient wonders, once the marvel of pharaohs who knew Moses and Solomon, now draw millions from across the globe. Egypt, now. From biblical empire to modern republic, Egypt's story is one of resilience and reinvention. A land where past and present walk side by side, and history is never far from view. Assyria and Babylon. Names that echo through the pages of history, empire, conquest, exile. Visual, carved Assyrian reliefs. Winged bulls, soldiers in procession, chariots thundering across stone, the mighty walls and mythic hanging gardens of Babylon, ruins of Nineveh sprawling along the banks of the Tigris River. The Assyrian Empire was a ruthless, terrifying force. It destroyed the northern kingdom of Israel in 722 BC. It exiled its people, the famous 10 lost tribes. Their capital, Nineveh, was a city of immense size and power. Its gates were guarded by colossal statues. On-screen text, Assyria and Babylon then. Later the Babylonian Empire under Nebuchadnezzar II rose to dominance. It conquered Judah. It destroyed Jerusalem and its temple. It carried its people into exile in 586 BC. For the Israelites, it was a trauma that shaped the prophetic and historical literature of the Bible. Cut to, an archaeologist, silhouetted against ancient ruins. These were the superpowers of their day. Their military technology and administrative systems were unparalleled. The trauma they inflicted on the Israelite people was so profound, it shaped the entire prophetic and historical literature of the Bible. Modern Iraq, the Tigris flowing past Baghdad, ancient sites dotting the landscape, archaeologists at work among the weathered stones of Babylon and Nineveh. Now these ancient lands lie within the modern nation of Iraq, Ashur, Nineveh, Babylon. The region has faced immense modern challenges, but its soil holds the layers of history that were once the stuff of biblical prophecy. On-screen text, Iraq now. Then, the Persian Empire under Cyrus the Great was the game-changer. In a stunning act of policy, Cyrus conquered Babylon. He decreed that all exiled peoples could return to their homelands, including the Jews who rebuilt their temples. He is hailed in the book of Isaiah as a messiah for this act, a liberator in the eyes of a people longing for home. The story of Esther unfolds in the opulent courts of Persia. Daniel unfolds in those same courts where power, faith, and fate intertwined. On-screen text, Persia, then. Now, Persia is Iran, a powerful Islamic republic. The ancient Persian language and culture endure. Cyrus's legacy as a liberator is celebrated. His cylinder is often called one of the world's first charters of human rights, but the biblical relationship of liberator has evolved into a complex modern dynamic between Iran and the State of Israel. On-screen text, Iran, now. Then the Philistines were the perennial rivals of ancient Israel. Hailing from the distant Aegean, they settled along the southern coast of Canaan. They forged a confederation of 5 powerful cities: Gaza, Ashkelon, Ashdod, Ekron, Gath. On-screen text, Philistia, then. Their warriors, clad in bronze wielding iron, stood as fearsome adversaries. Legends echo through history, none more famous than Goliath, the giant champion felled by the young David. Now the name Philistia echoes in the modern word Palestine. The territory that was once a battleground is today part of the modern state of Israel and the Palestinian territories. The ancient cities endure. Gaza with its busy seaport, Ashkelon with its sunlit beaches, and Ashdod, each one a thriving population center. Beneath their streets lie the layered remains of millennia, where the Philistine past and present day converge. On-screen text, the Palestinian coast, now. Then, Greece came into the Bible story a bit later, but in a really big way. With the arrival of Alexander the Great, Alexander on horseback, his armies charged across the old world, knocking down old kingdoms, bringing Greek language and culture with them, fancy marble statues, thinkers, big temples. These things became common sights even in faraway Jerusalem. After Alexander died, his generals split up his huge empire. One of them, King Antiochus IV, tried to get rid of Jewish traditions and force Greek ways on people. He desecrated the temple in Jerusalem. That sparked the Maccabean revolt, a fight for belief and freedom. We still remember that fight today during Hanukkah. The New Testament itself would later be written in Greek, because Greek was the language of the empire. Greece, Greek empires, then, Greek statues, Alexander on horseback, the Parthenon, dramatic scenes of ancient Jerusalem. Now Greece is a modern country in Europe, super proud of its ancient history. The Parthenon still stands tall over Athens, a symbol of its long-lasting story. The streets are full of life. Modern Greek restaurants, loud and full of happy sounds. And the language of Homer is still spoken. Greek ideas about thinking, Greek ideas about art, Greek ideas about buildings. Their influence is everywhere, woven into everything around us. Greece, now. Parthenon at sunset, a lively taverna, children playing in the shadow of ancient ruins. Then came Rome, the ultimate empire. By the time of Jesus' birth, Roman legions marched across the land, their standards glinting in the sun. The Colosseum echoed with cheers and roars. The Roman eagle soared over maps from Britain to Egypt. In Judea, Roman client kings and officials like Pontius Pilate held power, shaping every part of daily life. The famous Roman roads connected cities and provinces, allowing ideas and armies to travel farther and faster. Roman law governed the land and Roman justice could be harsh. Crucifixion became a symbol of both suffering and hope. It was under Rome that the early Christian church was born, spreading quietly at first, then rapidly across the empire. Believers faced persecution, but their faith endured. Eventually, Christianity became the official religion of Rome, changing the world forever. Rome, then Roman legions in formation, Colosseum at sunset, the Roman eagle standard, ancient maps with borders, the Roman Forum bustling with togas and traders. Now the Roman Empire is long gone, but its legacy is everywhere. in the laws we follow, the languages we speak, and the roads we travel. Italy, the heart of the old empire, is a modern nation full of life, art, and history. Inside Rome lies Vatican City, the spiritual center of the Roman Catholic Church. Here, a faith that began as a small movement in a distant province now reaches across the globe. Italy, now modern Italian cityscapes, the Vatican's dome rising over Rome, cafes and scooters, the ancient and the new, side by side, living proof that Rome's story is never really over. As Rome's western power faded, a new empire rose in the east, Byzantium. Centered in the magnificent city of Constantinople, the Byzantine Empire became the guardian of the Christian faith and the traditions of Rome. Golden mosaics shimmered inside the Hagia Sophia. Greek replaced Latin as the language of power and prayer. For centuries, Byzantium stood as a bridge between continents, faiths, and empires, holding back invaders, preserving ancient knowledge, shaping the spiritual map of the world. But change was coming. The rise of Islam swept across the region, bringing the crescent alongside the cross. The call to prayer echoed beside church bells. New cities, Damascus, Baghdad, rose to prominence. The Holy Land became a crossroads for pilgrims, conquerors, and traders from three great faiths. Today, the lands once ruled by Byzantium are shared by Turkey, Greece, and many others. Istanbul, once Constantinople, bridges Europe and Asia, a living mosaic of past and present. Here, ancient churches stand beside grand mosques, and the echoes of empires linger in every stone. Byzantium, where the story of the Bible met the tides of history and the world was forever changed. The story centers on Canaan, a land promised to the Israelites. But they were not alone. Israel and Palestine, the land of the Israelites, Philistines, and Canaanites. Jordan, the lands of Ammon, Moab, and Edom, constant rivals on the eastern frontier. The mighty Nabatean kingdom who built Petra also flourished here. Lebanon, home of the Phoenicians from cities like Tyre and Sidon, famed for their cedar wood and maritime prowess, who helped Solomon build his temple. Syria, often referred to as Aram, with its capital in Damascus, a frequent adversary and sometimes ally of Israel. Africa plays a massive role in the biblical narrative. Egypt, the ancient superpower, a place of refuge and slavery. Sudan and Ethiopia, known as Cush or Nubia, a powerful kingdom often allied with Egypt. The Cushite Ebed-Melech saved the prophet Jeremiah. The Ethiopian eunuch was converted in the Book of Acts. Libya, known as Put or Lubim, often mentioned as part of Egyptian armies. Tunisia, Algeria, home to Carthage, a Phoenician colony. While not directly mentioned, it represents the far-reaching influence of the Phoenician people from Tyre and Sidon. Somalia, some scholars argue the land of Punt or parts of Cush Seba may have extended into the Horn of Africa. From the east came the world's first empires, born between two rivers. Iraq encompasses the heart of Babylon and Assyria, the empires that destroyed Israel and Judah. Also home to Sumer and Akkad, the setting for the stories of Abraham's origins and the Tower of Babel. Kuwait, part of the ancient Mesopotamian region, likely within the sphere of these empires. Iran, known as Persia and Elam, the empire of Cyrus the Great that freed the Jews from exile, the setting for the story of Esther. The Arid Peninsula was a land of mystery, wealth, and trade. Saudi Arabia, home to the kingdoms of Dedan and Sheba. The Queen of Sheba's visit to Solomon is legendary. Yemen, another potential location for the Kingdom of Sheba, famous for its spices and incense. Oman, likely part of the ancient incense trade routes, potentially linked to Dedan. Qatar, Bahrain, UAE. These coastal trading states were part of the same economic and cultural sphere, possibly referenced under the names of Sheba or Dedan. To the north and west lay the lands of seafarers and innovators. Turkey, known as Asia Minor, home to the Hittite Empire. Later its cities like Ephesus, Colossae, and Philadelphia became central to the early Christian church as seen in Paul's letters and Acts. Greece, called Javan in the Old Testament. Alexander the Great's empire brought Hellenistic culture to Judea, setting the stage for the Maccabean revolt, the language of the New Testament. Cyprus, the home of Barnabas and a key stop on Paul's first missionary journey. Italy, the heart of the Roman Empire, the political context of Jesus' death and the spread of the gospel, the final setting of the Book of Acts. The biblical world stretched to what were then the ends of the earth. Spain, believed by many to be Tarshish, a distant port reached by Phoenician and Israelite sailors. The Apostle Paul desired to preach there. Malta, called Melita in Acts, where Paul was shipwrecked on his way to Rome. Albania, known in Roman times as Illyricum, which Paul mentions preaching in. North Macedonia and Greece, the region of Macedonia was pivotal in Paul's missions. Philippi, Thessalonica. References point even further east to lands of exile and mystery. Armenia, the mountains of Ararat where Noah's Ark came to rest. A kingdom that adopted Christianity very early on. Georgia, part of the ancient region associated with Ararat and later empires like Colchis. Afghanistan and Pakistan. While not directly named, they were conquered by and part of the Persian and Medo-Persian empires. The Jewish exile was spread throughout the 127 provinces of Persia, which stretched deep into Central Asia. From the cradle of civilization in Iraq to the Pillars of Hercules in Spain, from the African kingdoms of Kush to the eastern reaches of Persia, the biblical narrative is a tapestry woven across the entire ancient world. These nations are not just historical footnotes, they are the settings for miracles, the homes of prophets, the birthplaces of empires, and the routes upon which faith traveled to the entire world. A story that started in a garden spread to every corner of the earth.